The TV kept saying everything's fine, but nothing felt fine that morning. My name's Cody Mitchell. I'm a 34-year-old HVAC tech from Dayton, Ohio, and I'd been running on black coffee and nerves since my wife left me 2 months ago. I used to sleep through anything, thunderstorms, tornado sirens, you name it, but today every noise felt wrong. It started with the neighbor's dog, Barkley, howling non-stop at 5 in the morning. He never does that. Then I heard coughing. I live in a crumbling apartment block where the walls are paper thin, so I hear things. People fighting, old Mrs. Alvarez watching her telenovelas too loud, and sometimes that scary hacking cough from the guy upstairs. But today, the coughing was everywhere. It sounded deeper, wetter. I brushed my teeth while staring at the hallway mirror, watching myself like I was waiting for my own face to change. I kept glancing at my phone, expecting an Amber Alert or something, but nothing came. No texts from my brother Ryan, who usually wakes me up with bad memes. When I finally checked Facebook, half the posts were about flu season being wild this year, and the other half were arguing about politics, like always. Someone posted a photo of a military van parked outside Kroger's on Main Street, soldiers in biohazard suits getting coffee at the Speedway. I thought, government overkill for a cold. But even writing that now feels insane. Like I already knew something was wrong, I just didn't want to admit it. I put on my work shirt, the one with my name stitched in crooked red thread, and headed out. The parking lot was nearly empty except for that weird military van. No one was moving around, except one old guy standing by the dumpster, hunched over, coughing so hard I thought he might spit up a lung. I walked a little faster. My van started up with a sad little whine, and the radio immediately cut into that emergency alert system buzz. "This is only a test," it said, then cut out to static. I laughed, but it didn't sound real. I drove to my first call, some lady who said her AC was out, but when I got there, she didn't answer the door. Her car was in the driveway, but the curtains were drawn. I rang the bell twice, called her cell, nothing. On the way back to my van, I noticed a streak of something dark and sticky running down her front steps. I wanted to think it was oil, maybe from some junk kid's prank, but I knew it wasn't. I called my boss, but the call dropped. Tried again, got nothing but a dead line. I checked Twitter and saw break unknown illness in Dayton, stay home trending, but then my feed froze. It was like the world was shutting down in slow motion, and only I was noticing it. I sent a group text to Ryan, my mom, and my 2 best friends. "You guys good?" And waited. No replies, not even a K. That was the first time real fear hit me. I kept thinking about the military van, about the empty parking lot, about the way the air felt heavy, like before a thunderstorm, only it wasn't going to rain. I drove home, every few blocks seeing someone coughing, someone stumbling, someone just staring into nothing. I kept my van locked as I sat in the lot, texting and calling people like crazy. Nothing came back, except static and silence. That night, just before sunset, I looked out my window and saw my neighbor, Mrs. Alvarez, standing in the hallway, knocking softly on doors. She turned, and her eyes caught mine. She looked scared, really scared. She opened her mouth to say something, but nothing came out. She was shaking so bad, her keys fell out of her hand. I started to open my door, but she ran back to her apartment and slammed it shut. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in my kitchen with a baseball bat on my lap, the emergency broadcast still buzzing on the TV in the background, waiting for someone, anyone, to text me back. At 2:14 a.m., the power flickered. Then the phone lines died completely. The last thing I heard was the broadcast repeating, "Remain indoors. Lock your doors. Await further instructions." By sunrise, I knew. Whatever this was, it wasn't going away, and if I didn't act, I wouldn't be around to see what happened next. The power came back for maybe an hour, long enough for me to check the fridge and realize I didn't have enough food to last a week, let alone longer. I tried the tap. Water still worked. I stood in my living room, staring at my phone like it might suddenly light up and tell me this was a joke. It never did. I tried calling Ryan again, and the call finally went through. What I heard on the other end wasn't his voice, just weird static and a faint, wet-sounding moan that made me drop the phone. I told myself it was a bad connection. I knew it wasn't. The next sound I heard was pounding. Not at my door, but down the hall. Someone screaming, "Help, please." Then a crash. Another scream, cut off sharp. I stepped into the hallway, bat in hand. 3 doors down, the guy who lives with his girlfriend was lying half in, half out of his apartment. There was blood all over the carpet, bright and slippery, and his hand kept grabbing at the floor, like he was trying to crawl. His girlfriend was on top of him, and she was biting him, like really biting him. Teeth deep in his shoulder, her eyes rolled back, face slick with blood. She looked up at me, her mouth hanging open, and for a second I thought she'd say something. Instead, she snarled, actually snarled, and went back to tearing into his neck. My legs didn't work at first. I wanted to run, but I was stuck there, bat raised, mouth dry. The only thing that got me moving was her head snapping up again, blood dripping from her chin and the way she crawled. Fast. Straight for me. I slammed my door shut and locked it, heart hammering, breath ragged. I wedged a chair under the knob and stood back, clutching the bat until my hands hurt. From the peephole, I watched as she lost interest in my door and started banging on other ones. Other neighbors peeked out. Some shouted, "What the hell's wrong with you?" But nobody wanted to step into the hall. There were more screams, doors slamming, the sound of glass breaking. I backed away and started shoving furniture in front of every window, every vent, every possible way in or out. My hands shook, but I kept going. It was all I could do to keep busy, to keep from thinking. I tried to text everyone again. My mom, Ryan, friends from high school, people I hadn't seen in years. No replies. I checked my group chats. Everyone was typing, but then the bubbles stopped. All I saw was, "Are you seeing this?" And then nothing. It hit me that I might be totally alone, locked in a crumbling apartment in Ohio, while the world outside turned into something out of a nightmare. That's when the emergency broadcast cut back in, loud and insistent, like the government was yelling into my living room. "This is a national emergency. Do not attempt to leave your home. The illness is transmitted through bites. Repeat, through bites. Remain calm. Wait for instructions." The words "remain calm" felt like a punchline. I paced. I panicked. I even laughed, because the alternative was screaming. Hours blurred together. The apartment stank of sweat and fear. I drank a Coke for breakfast and a warm beer for lunch. Then, out of nowhere, a knock at my window. Second floor, mind you. Almost made me fall over. It was Mrs. Alvarez's grandson, Eli, clinging to the fire escape. He looked terrified, eyes wide, shirt ripped at the shoulder. I cracked the window just enough to hear him whisper, "Let me in. Please, man, I don't know what's happening." I hesitated, but I let him in. He dropped onto my floor, shaking, gasping for breath. He kept saying, "She tried to bite me. Abuela tried to bite me." He showed me his shoulder, a red, ugly bite mark swelling up fast. I tried to clean it, tried to act calm, but inside everything was screaming. He looked up at me with this haunted look and said, "If I change, promise me you'll do it quick." I promised, but I didn't want to mean it. He lasted 2 hours, sweating, shaking, mumbling in Spanish. Then, just like that, he stopped moving, eyes rolled back. I thought he was dead. I sat down, head in my hands, tried to figure out what to do next. That's when he sat up, eyes empty, mouth slack, reaching for me. I hit him with the bat. I didn't think. I just swung and swung until he stopped moving. There was blood everywhere. I stood over him, gasping. chest heaving, hands trembling so bad. I dropped the bat. I looked around my ruined apartment, at the barricaded windows, the blood on my hands, and realized nothing was ever going back to normal. Not for me, not for anyone. I heard more pounding, more screaming, from outside, sirens in the distance, then silence. That's when I knew. This was it. The world had changed, and I had too. I didn't want to move. I kept staring at Eli's body, still and twisted on my living room floor, blood already congealing around his head. I'd known him since he was 10, always grinning, always asking to borrow my skateboard. Now his face was frozen in a snarl, his jaw broken from the first hit. For a long time, I just stood there, numb. I tried to wash the blood off my hands, but it didn't come off all the way. I scrubbed until the skin went raw, but it still felt like it was there, under my nails, in the cracks of my skin, sinking into me. Every sound made me jump. The groan of pipes, footsteps above, a distant scream. This was supposed to be my home, but now every corner looked wrong. Every shadow felt alive. I found my old hiking bag under the bed, started stuffing it with anything useful. Water, ramen, my dad's hunting knife, a family photo from my last birthday with Ryan. I taped a sheet over the blood on the carpet, but that didn't make it go away. I couldn't stop thinking about my mom. She lived 3 miles away, on the other side of the city. I had to get to her, but stepping into that hallway felt like walking into a minefield. I peeked through the peephole. The hallway was a disaster zone. Someone had written "sick" inside on one door in red paint. At least, I hoped it was paint. Bodies slumped against the walls. Some moved. Some didn't. The air reeked of iron, sweat, and something sour. I told myself I could make it. I just had to move fast. I checked my phone one more time. Still nothing. I texted Ryan again anyway. If you see this, get to Mom's. Don't wait for me. I don't know why I bothered. I shoved the bat into my bag, braced myself, and quietly unlatched the door. I slipped out, moving slow, keeping my head down. Halfway down the stairs, I heard a door crash open above me, then a shuffling, dragging sound. I ran. I didn't think, I just ran, jumping the last steps, crashing through the emergency exit and out into the lot. The sun was bright, way too bright, making the world look flat and fake, like a set. Cars were still there, some with doors open, groceries spilling out onto the asphalt, like whoever owned them just evaporated. I ducked behind a Civic as something stumbled out from the front office. My landlord, Mr. Kaplan, his shirt torn and his eyes black. He saw me and screamed, high and desperate, not human. I bolted. He lunged after me, and for a second, his fingers brushed my backpack. But I swung around and hit him square in the face with the bat. He went down hard, twitching. I didn't stop to check if he was dead. I cut through the back alley, past dumpsters and chain-linked fences, trying not to look at the shapes slumped in cars or the stains running down the walls. Every few steps I heard more of them, the infected. Groaning, searching, smelling for something alive. I kept moving, running low and fast. My chest ached, my legs burned. The world outside was gone. Nobody yelling at their kids, nobody mowing lawns, just sirens and the distant thump of gunfire. I passed the school, windows smashed, little backpacks dropped on the sidewalk. It looked like a war zone, and I guess that's what it was. I made it to my mom's street. Her house was there, just like always, the lawn overgrown, a wind chime clinking on the porch. For a second, I let myself hope she'd be waiting at the window, but the front door was wide open, swinging on its hinges. My throat closed up. I gripped the bat tighter, made myself step inside. The house was trashed, furniture flipped, pictures broken, the TV smashed on the floor. I called her name again and again, but all I heard was my own echo. There was blood on the kitchen counter, little drops leading to the stairs. I followed, careful not to slip. At the top, I found her. She was sitting on the bed, rocking back and forth, clutching her old Bible to her chest. She looked up at me and smiled, but her lips were cracked, her eyes watery and wild. "Cody," she whispered, "did you bring Ryan?" I lied. I told her he was on his way. I held her, felt her fever burning through her thin skin. She kept mumbling prayers, begging me not to leave her. I knew what was coming. The bite was on her arm, hidden under her sleeve. I didn't say anything. I just sat there and listened to her breathing get slower, heavier, until it stopped. When she opened her eyes again, they weren't my mother's. They were empty, hungry. She grabbed at me, snarling. I did what I had to do. After, I sat on the porch, covered in her blood, and watched the sun go down over a dead neighborhood. Sirens still wailed in the distance, but nobody was coming. Not now, not ever. I should have felt something. Grief, rage, guilt. Instead, I felt empty, hollowed out, like I'd crossed a line I could never come back from. The world was gone. The person I used to be was gone. All I had left was the road ahead and the weight of what I'd done. I slung the bag over my shoulder, gripped the bat and started walking. No plan, no hope, just forward. Because that's all there was now. Forward, and whatever rules used to matter, they didn't anymore. The only thing left was survival, and even that didn't feel human anymore.